Hey, Advisor Nation. Before we dive in, please follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And I'd like to give a huge thank you today to our sponsor, Dr. Bradley Nelson. He's a New York Times bestselling author of The Emotion Code and The Body Code. Dr. Nelson, we appreciate your continued support of the show. Now, today on The Advisor with Stacey Chillemi, I am very excited because we have a very special guest. It's Donzel A. Leggett, author of Make Your Own Destiny Happen, the founder of Destiny Development Delta, the LLC, creator of the Destiny Development model for transformational success. Now, Donzel, would you say hello to everybody and tell everybody a little about yourself?
Hello, everyone. And first of all, I want to thank Stacey for having me on this tremendous platform. Such an honor to be here, and I'm very excited about it. As Stacey said, I'm Donzel Leggett. Just had my book go live and published on August 25th, just a few days before my birthday. Just turned 57, so I was able to hit this big milestone, kind of in life here at this stage. Feeling really great about that. I had a long career in corporate America over 30 years. And the last almost 20 of it, I've led very large organizations around the world. So lots of experience working globally. And so the model that I developed, and we'll talk about it later, really came out of some of the early sort of decisions I had to make in my life, then leading organizations, and then realizing that people are people, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what language people speak, people want to be treated as individuals that have their own destinies. And I feel like one of the objectives that I can play is help them achieve that destiny, help them achieve the success that they want in their life, as well as personal well-being and holistic balance as well. And I had a good experience, a lot of great experiences around the world before I wrote the book, seeing the impact that I could make on people. And what I want to do is take what I was seeing I was doing, put that in writing so that people maybe I don't get a chance to meet could also benefit from some of that knowledge. So I'm very excited to be here and hopefully share that message.
I love that. I love that. Now, for listeners who are brand new to your work, what is the Destiny Develop Delta model in simple terms, and why does it work when others approaches stall?
Yeah. So it's a model that brings together personal leadership transformation. So recognition that it doesn't matter whether you're a great podcast host like Stacy, or a school teacher, or an executive, or something like that, that people look at and say they're a leader in their field. You are the leader of your life. And you just have to recognize how to take advantage of your agency and take control. And so part of the model is helping you do that, helping you transform your leadership to take control of your life. Then the other piece of the model is then what do you do with that? It's helping you envision the destiny that you want, then build a life plan to actually make it happen, and then go through the process of the discipline, the accountability, and the action to actually bring that to life. And that's really what differentiates my model. Again, coming from corporate America, I've been through many different leadership sort of models and all these types of things that have all these buzzwords you've heard about. Most of them were created by studying very successful people who've made it, the Elon Musks of the world and, the Jeff Bezos of the world, all these guys. And
Yeah.
what they miss is that each one of them had very unique circumstances that helped lead them to where they are. Number one. Number two, they miss the fact that we don't know if they're actually happy. Just because they have a lot of money doesn't mean that they're happy and have achieved the personal well-being and holistic balance that they want. What my model does is that differentiates and help you establish what success means for you. Not trying to be Jeff Bezos or Mark Cuban or J.K. Rowling or someone like that. Oprah
Yeah.
Winfrey. It's what is success for you and what will make you happy. Then
Yeah.
it's about giving you the roadmap to actually do it. So it's you identify what you want. Now here's the roadmap to help you do it. Now, just like anything else that's good in life, it's not easy, not
Right.
magic. It's not I push a button like on Staples. The easy button doesn't exist. So if you're willing to do the work, my model leads you through the process of transforming your leadership, making your agency actually your ability to live for yourself, take accountability for yourself, come to fruition. And then the difference, giving you the roadmap. What do I do now? Step by
Right.
step to make it happen. That's the difference.
I love that. Now, if someone feels stuck today, what's the first small action they can take in the next 24 hours to start that momentum?
I believe It's really getting in touch with themselves. And there's two kind of steps that I say to that. One is becoming authentic and um, coming into contact, real emotional contact with who they really are. What are your real strengths? What aren't you so good at? What have you done that you're proud of? What have you done that you're not proud of? Come to that realization and come to the point of accepting yourself. So you
Mhm.
have to come to the point of accepting yourself. And when you do that, then you can look forward. And this is the next big step, look forward 10, 20, 15. I look forward 40 years, 45 years, and then say, now, forget about what's happened up to this point. Where
Mhm.
do I really want to be then? How do
Right.
I want my life to be transpiring? Not only financially, what kind of family situation do I want my family to be in? What do I want my legacy to have been? If people ask folks who know me about me, if it's my retirement party, what do I want them to say? Come to that discuss. That's really the number one thing to do. Come in contact and accept yourself. Be authentic with yourself. And then what do I really want to be? And what do I want to do? What will make me happy? You'd
Yeah.
be surprised. Now, you maybe you know, but I've in the course of my career, I've had one-on-ones with over 10,000 people all over the world. Over
Wow.
10,000. I've spent over 60,000 hours in these one-to-one meetings. So if you remember like Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hour rule, you remember that? You know what I mean?
Yes.
I've got that five, six times over in terms of the hours and 10 times over in terms of the people. So I'm not saying I'm a doctor. I'm not saying I'm a PhD, but I can tell you I do know people when it comes to this.
Yes.
Of all those discussions I've had, I always ask people this question, especially ones who are, asking me for support or help or um, where do you want to be in 10 years?
Hmm.
Less than 10% of them can answer that question.
I
So it
believe it.
seems like it's the easiest thing, but it's the hardest thing for people to do. And even harder now when we have a cell phone in our hand that gives us infinite information. In fact, all the information that's ever been created in the world is available on our cell phones just at the swipe of a thumb.
Yeah.
And not all that information is good and positive, but it's addicting. So people get caught in this and they don't take the time to look internally, or they judge based on what they're seeing, based on getting likes, based on those types of things. So this is what I always tell people. Get in touch with yourself and then think about what do I really want long term?
I love that. I love that because I don't think a lot of people can, really think outside the box and really because like when you swipe your titles away and you're no longer, whatever you do in your position, your profession, and they are no longer dad, and you're no longer this, and you're no longer that. I've asked many people, who are you? Who are you inside? And that's a question a lot of people just look at me very dumbfounded and they can't answer.
Yes, can't.
And they don't know. They don't know who they are as a person. They just know their titles that our society has given them. And but when that's why you see so many people get depressed as they get older, because once
Yes,
everyone starts moving outward and you no longer are working and their kids are grown and everything is happening, all those titles get swiped away and they're not utilized. And it's like, okay, who am I now? And
yes.
many people, if you don't figure out who you are early in life, and you don't know, and you don't learn to accept yourself and love yourself, for who you are inside, you're going to have some problems as you get older.
Absolutely. I have a little podcast I do. I actually call it the Make Your Destiny Happen Petite Podcast. And I say that my wife is like 5'1". I'm like 6'5". So it's not because of my size. I'm not petite, but she's petite. She's small. She's short. She's sweet. She's to the point. And that's what the podcast is all about. So I try to
Uh-huh.
keep it really short, to the point, because also if I talk too long to her, she's going to stop listening to me. So I got to be really, really quick. So in this podcast, I try to introduce one lesson out of the book, and then I bring it to life the stories of my dad. And the couple of the episodes that I talk about my dad, I think it's the first one and really the last one, where I talk about how he and I are very different. And my dad passed away about 7 months ago, but we were very different. I'm kind of an achiever. I'm always trying to push and learn and what's the next thing. My dad was nothing like that. I mean, and he did not care what people thought about him. So when you talk about this idea of when you strip the titles away, who are you and do you like yourself? You know, did my dad always do what my mom wanted? Not really. Did he do what maybe I think he should do? Not really. But did he do what he wanted to do? Yes. And
Right.
most importantly, was he happy? Yes, he was happy. He lived to be 88. And I remember talking to him. I talked about this on the last episode I had the podcast back about a year ago. And I remember asking him, because I saw he was getting weak. I saw he was getting older. I said, "Are you happy?" Because he doesn't do anything. But he said, "I'm happy." I said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Is there anything I can get for you? Anywhere you want to go in the world,
Right.
anything you want, you tell me you got it." He
Right.
said, "I don't need anything. I got everything I need right here." Just think if all of us could answer that question when we know we're near the end and we don't have any regrets, we love who we are, and we like our life. It's not defined again by what you see other people doing. It's about what you want. And that's
Yeah.
the key lesson I really was reinforced me from my dad is always think about yourself, get to know yourself and love yourself, no matter what other people think, and
Yeah.
establish what you want in life and then make a plan to make it happen. And if it's not what your best friend wants, so what? If it's not what, your sister thinks you should do, so what? It's about what you think is best for you that not only puts you in a position where you feel successful, but you again also have personal well-being and feel good about yourself.
100%. 100%. Now, your book talks about taking ownership. How do we shift
Yeah.
from circumstances and choices in the real world, with busy job, busy kids, and stress?
Yeah, it's not easy. And that's the thing. It's always, living in our culture. And again, I mentioned the phone. People are always looking for hacks, right? Hack for
Hmm.
this, a hack for that. There's no hack for making your destiny happen. I give
Yeah.
you a model to transform your leadership, and there's steps to take, and they're very well defined, but you got to do the work. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Like I was an executive. I was traveling the world. I was traveling 60% of the time. But I made a point to say, I'm going to be at all my kids' events. I'm going to help when I'm home. I'm not going to have my wife do all the work. I'm going to do some of this work. I'm going to
Right.
wash my daughter's hair. Now, they didn't like it when I combed their hair and washed their hair, but I did it. I'm going to be reading stories at night. I'm going to be helping with homework. I'm going to coach my kids in sports. I'm going to do those things. Now, to do that while also taking care of my well-being, staying physically fit, making sure that my wife is happy, making sure that the family's getting what they need. I had to make some lifestyle changes. I had to
Right.
decide, okay, I got to get up early in the morning to work out. I got to make sure that I'm on top of my job. I got to make sure that I went back and got my MBA. I had to make life changes to make that happen. I had to
Right.
make sacrifices based on what I wanted for me and my family. There's no substitute for that. But part of that sacrifice was also taking time to refill my cup. So there
Right.
were things that I would do. Again, take your time to work out. Making sure sometimes just listening to music for me was a
Yeah.
way to release reading, not reading for work, but reading for pleasure. Like
Right.
a great book like Stacey Chillemi has written about, that I would if I would have known about that, I would have read that. That's you got to take time for yourself. But to think that there's a hack that you could just push a button and everything's going to be great, it doesn't work like that. We have
Yeah.
to take accountability, build a plan. And one of the things that I talk about in the book a little bit is, there's it's what I call activation. So once you have a plan, where people tend to fall down is then activating the plan on a consistent basis. That's getting it into a routine, holding yourself accountable to that routine. And I remember explaining to my kids when they would sometimes say, "Oh, there's no time to study," and I would take a 24-hour day and I'd say, "Okay, this is the amount of time you have for sleep. Here's the amount of time for eating. Here's the amount of time for this and that." Now there's still 8 hours left that you actually could be doing things. But instead, you're playing video games for 4 hours or you're doing this. So when we really take the time to think about how much time do I have available? How can I make time work for me instead of me working for time?
Right.
If we do that, there is time in the day. It does mean we have to sacrifice and make some changes in our behaviors. One
Right.
other stat that I'll give you, most Americans spend over 2.5 hours, I'm going to go back to the phone, on their phone. 2.5 hours just scrolling on their phone.
Yes.
Less than 15 minutes doing the things I just talked about,
Right.
reading to learn, taking time to meditate for themselves, going and working out, things to improve themselves. What if
Right.
you reversed it? What if you
Yes.
only spent 15 minutes on your phone and 2.5 hours on yourself. Don't you
Right.
think you could fix some of these issues? Don't you
Oh,
think
yeah.
you'd feel better? So that's kind of what I'm trying to do is help people see the fix is right in front of us. We have to make the choice.
Right. Oh, I agree with you 100%. So many people are involved with their technologies and they're so into like the tablet or their phone or things like in that nature on their computer desktop that they don't really focus on the things that really matter the most in their lives that can really change their lives and help them learn who they are as a person. And we've gotten to
Yes.
that where people are just want things right away and you see it in marketing all the time, but there is no quick fix to anything.
No.
It takes time and it takes hard work, like you mentioned. And people get annoyed when they don't see something get done right away, or they don't see results right away. But it just doesn't work like that in any shape or form.
No, and we have to find little things to keep us motivated. One of the things I like is the idea of gamification. So
Mhm.
sometimes I'll create little rewards to keep myself on track, right? Like,
Right.
man, I don't feel like going to work out today. Oh my God. Okay, but what if I worked out for the next 3 days? Maybe I could have a slice of pizza, that third day, or maybe I could have one more martini, or something along so just give me something to strive for, something. And sometimes you have to do that because it is monotonous. I mean,
Yeah.
when you talk about 7 days a week and there's 24 hours in a day and you got all these things going on. So sometimes you have to have a little bit of guilty pleasure or something that makes you feel good to strive for. Set
Yeah.
some tiny goals and, achieve the things you do to meet those goals and take care of yourself, right?
Yes.
Some of one of the stories I talk about it in the book is, like I don't know if you know sports, like sports very much, but like Steph Curry is the this guy who can shoot really, really well, right? And no one can shoot better than him. But think about how good the guy is at shooting. That guy can practice and he'll make like 50 straight shots. At some point, it's like, okay, how much do I want to do this? So
Yeah.
even he will have these little rewards, for himself. Okay, if I do make 10 more shots or 50 more shots, have this little reward. Everyone has to have something to keep them going. Even
Right.
if you're striving at the very top of your game, even if you have everything that you think's out there, we still have intrinsic
Yeah.
rewards. Extrinsic can only get you so far. Sometimes it's about making me feel better, making me feel just a little bit better. So that's kind of how I try to help. And again, in the book, I talk a lot about activating your plan,
Mhm.
building in little rewards to help you continue to strive when, again, it gets a little monotonous.
Exactly. And that's the way you have to do it. Now, what are the three most common blockers when you see things like beliefs, habits, and the environment? And how do you model and dismantle each one?
Yeah, I talk about there's a kind of some characteristics around how people feel like they can't move forward or stuck. You used the word stuck earlier. One is this idea that um, I don't know if it's an idea, but I call it the dandelion, the dandelion seed. Where
Uh-huh.
you see where the dandelion's floating around, right? The little white dandelion, and when the wind takes it wherever it wants to go. And
Right.
there are some people who, that's kind of how they live their life.
Yeah.
Is just kind of like, okay, if I talked to Stacey today, and Stacey Chillemi, she's really smart and she's done a lot, and she told me I should do this, so I'm gonna do that. And then 3 days later they meet me and they're like, well, Donzel had some good maybe I'll do that. So they
Yeah.
just are looking for something, just floating around wherever it's going to take them, and that's kind of, and then they get there, it's 20 years later, and they look around, they're like, why did I end up here? Because
Yeah.
they didn't have a plan. They just kind of didn't really have any hope, except hope that maybe someone will point me in the right direction. So that's probably not the place you want to be. Could you be lucky? Ended up in the right? You could be. Then there's with the people I call the hamsters on the flywheel. They're just like, they're just running, 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 running. Right.
Yeah.
They have a plan, but it's not authentic. They never did what I said earlier. They never sat down and really got in touch with themselves, thought about what they wanted. They just kind of, geez, I'll just do this, but I'm gonna work hard. So they just, boom, work, 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 and then they start real. Okay, man, I don't. think this is good. I'll come up with another plan. I'm gonna work. And they just keep working hard. And they think they're going somewhere, but the flywheel just goes in a circle, right? You're just getting right back to the place you were.
Yeah.
So they are, again, don't have an authentic plan. And again, they're putting their hope on something that's misguided. It's not authentic. So they don't go anywhere. And the third category of folks we call this the kind of the giraffe with their head in the sand. They're just so terrified of everything. And believe me, the world is terrifying right now. It's
Yeah.
scary. It's a scary time to be alive, scary place. It's a lot of uncertainty. Every nanosecond seems like something's changing, and some people get paralyzed by that. So they
Yeah.
feel like the smartest thing to do is put your head down, don't get noticed, don't say anything, and that'll keep me safe. And as long as I can survive 20 years later, I'll be good. But what
Right.
happens? The world passes them by. They
Hmm.
don't move anywhere, they don't do anything, they don't get better. And 20 years later, they're stuck exactly where they were before. They had no plan, they had no hope. So, what I say to break out of that, again, develop an authentic plan, get in touch with yourself, find out who you really are, what you really want,
Right.
develop a life plan. And then, based on the fact that you've done that work, now you actually have real hope. You have an
Yeah.
authentic plan, you have authentic hope. And that gives you the assured belief that you're on the right track. That's how you break out of the cycles that we see now that are holding some people down. And some people define it as stuck. Some people define it as this kind of ambivalence. Some people will define it as just kind of a fear of moving forward, or just like, what difference does it make? AI is
Yeah.
going to take my job anyway. That's kind of where some people are, right?
Yeah.
So develop that authentic plan based on who you really are, what you really want.
Yes.
Transform your leadership to generate the assured belief you can make it happen.
I love that. Now, identify drive behavior. Like, how can listeners recast their self story so new habits can actually stick?
Yeah, I hate to keep going back to the same thing, but it all starts with getting in touch with yourself and then
Yeah.
deciding. I saw an article today that kind of was very similar to what my book's all about and my personal brand. So one of the things I introduce is you need a personal brand in the book,
Right.
and I have a little exercise that helps people develop what that personal brand is. My
Right.
personal brand is strive to be the best to control your own destiny. Now, I
Right.
came up with that 30 years ago. And I
Hmm.
came up with that because I felt like that based on what I want to do with my life, and I built a life plan. So everything I'm talking about, I actually did these things. Everything in the
Yeah.
book I did, and I fill it with personal stories. But the whole concept for me was um, I learned when I played college football that I didn't do everything I could have done.
Right.
I was good, but I wasn't good enough.
Right. Right.
And I always thought that I did all the things I was supposed to do. I was a great student. I was a good player. I kept my nose clean. I did those things. But I
Yeah.
could have done so much more. And our team probably would have been better.
Right.
I didn't lead. I could have, instead of going out and drinking beer, I could have told our guys, hey, let's go watch film for the next game.
Right.
Let's go study, our playbook and really know it by heart. I
Yeah.
could have done that. I didn't realize at the time, but I had the influence over my teammates. They would have listened to me, but
Yeah.
I didn't take that step. I didn't challenge myself to be better than good. And
Right.
so the question is good enough today?
Right.
Is being good enough? And maybe for some people it is, but you have to ask yourself, what do you want out of life? And if
Exactly.
what you want out of life requires you to accomplish some things, whatever that field is, again, it could be being a teacher, it could be being a musician, it could be being a podcast host, it could be being a carpenter, it could be being a bricklayer. Whatever it is good enough?
Right.
That's the question we have to ask. And for me, I realized no matter what I did after that experience, where
Mhm.
felt like I let my teammates down, if I would have stepped up, we could have been a better team. I didn't. So I said, from this point forward, I'm going to strive to be the best. I'm going to
Right.
strive to be the best at whatever I'm doing, but I'm going to do it in a way to bring everybody else with me. And by doing that, I'm going to control my destiny. I'm not going to
Yeah.
push people's down for me to be up. I'm going to
Mhm.
rise up and bring everyone with me.
I love that.
That's how I looked at it.
That's awesome. That's totally awesome. Now, walk us through a 7-day starter plan that anyone can try to experience with a quick win.
Yeah. I'm going to go back. I would say for people to um, take the time, take 1 hour of one day
Hmm.
and start the process of what I just talked about on building your personal brand. This will be,
Right.
I think, a quick win. This will make it easier than trying to think 30 years down the road or 10 years down the road. And take your personal brand and do this exercise. Think about 5 words
Hmm.
that you think best describe you today.
Right.
Then think about 5 to 10 words that you want to describe you. Maybe they're the
Right.
same. If
Yeah.
they are, great. But if they're not, take note, write them down. Write them
Hmm.
down. Then think about, how do I want people, what would I want people to say? What would be a sentence? If someone asked them, what would they want them to say about them?
Right.
Write those down. Then take those words, look at all those words you wrote down,
Hmm.
and then start just crafting a sentence or two that represents what you want to be, what you want people to think about you, and what
Right.
you think inspires you to
Right.
say, I like that person.
Hmm.
That I like that person. That's descriptive and that feels good. And just
Yeah.
keep writing. And when that sentence gets to a point where you're smiling and you
Hmm.
feel inspired and you feel good, even if you feel like that's a high standard to live up to, you know you're
Right.
getting there.
Yeah.
That's a good exercise to take and get to the point where that feels authentic and feels inspiring, and make your brand um, come to life. And at that point, then you can start making decisions. All right, do I want to take this brand and make this a reality? Then you can
Yeah.
start taking the next steps. But the first step is really identify what that brand is. That's an actionable step that's a little easier than
Yeah.
trying to really, go through the process of, I describe, kind of how you think in the future and all of those things. Just try to identify what your brand is. What do you
Right.
want it to be? That's a quick win I think people can have. But from there, they can take the next step.
Oh, I love that. Now, does metrics really matter? Like, what should people track weekly to know that they're on the right path and not just motivated?
Yeah, metrics do matter. Not
Mhm.
all metrics are numerical, or not all metrics are numbers based. Um, if you build a life plan, in our book, we talk about, there's a process we have. It's called the life plan activation. And that
Yeah.
activation is basically basically grades you score. You can score yourself on, am I activating the plan or not?
Right.
But from a simple basis, if you don't have a life plan, I mean, there are definitely metrics that are important to me. A simple one to me, because I'm 57, I'm a big guy, and I don't want to die too soon. I mean, it could happen any day, and I live my life with the understanding, hey, am I on track? Because this might be my last day. You just never know. But I'm guessing maybe it won't be. I would rather be on the safe side of trying to work and do some things to stay in shape. So, I need to work out a little bit because my risks are higher in a lot of different categories for a lot of different biological reasons. So I have a mental model in my mind, but also keep track of it on my watch and on my phone. How many days a week did I work out? How many hours did I work out? And exactly what did I do?
Right.
That's important. It's
Yeah.
important to me from again, to keep myself healthy on track, also from a well-being standpoint, because
Yeah.
I know from personal experience that I'm much more effective
Yeah.
when I'm working out and feeling good about myself. And
Yes.
I'm much sharper mentally, and I
Hmm.
feel better. I feel
Exactly.
better. So that's a simple metric. Another simple metric that I give is, I want to spend 30 minutes at least every day trying to learn something new.
Right.
So right now, my kick is AI and cryptocurrencies. Why?
Hmm.
Because I don't really understand them that well.
Yeah.
So every morning I try to learn something about AI. try to learn something more about blockchain, about cryptocurrency, not about how they're tracking the stock market. I'm talking about how it actually works. That's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. Not about using AI, but how do large learning models actually work?
Right.
So that's another metric. Why is it important? It makes me feel better.
Right.
It makes me feel like I'm continuing to push myself to learn.
Yeah.
Now, it's also practical in that if I'm talking to a Stacey Chillemi, who I know is worldly and knows a lot of things, she might ask me about it. I don't know, so I got to be prepared. But it makes me feel better. So every day, that's a metric that I have. So
Right.
yes, having metrics gives you a feeling of self-fulfillment. It allows you to feel like you've kind of checked a little bit of a box. And box checking sometimes is good for humans. It makes us feel better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes us feel like we accomplished something every
Yeah.
day.
Hmm.
So that's I do think it's important. And like I said, if you follow our model, we lead you through not only building your life plan, but then creating that scorecard to help keep you on track and keep yourself motivated.
Right. I love that. Now, a favorite case study, which is anonymous, that shows that model transform in a career or a family's daily life could be effective. What's your intake on that?
Repeat that one again.
So, a favorite case study shows that model transform in a career could be very beneficial. So, how do you feel about that?
Absolutely. And I'm just trying to make sure I understand the question. That models that help transform your career, help can transform your personal life. Is that what you're at? No question about it. Now, I would go the other way and say that if you have a good personal life, it definitely benefits your career. To me, that's probably even more true than the other way around. I've
Right.
seen more people's personal lives actually suffer at the expense of career success.
Yeah. Hmm.
Now I've seen more of that. And so my whole logic, and whether there's a model for this or not, I'm just telling you from 32 years of leading big organizations.
Yeah.
My whole perspective was, um, if the people who work on my team, if
Hmm.
their personal life is great, and if
Yeah.
I'm doing everything I can to support that, they're
Hmm.
going to give way more to the results that we need here. As an example, way before COVID happened and people
Hmm.
had to, go work from home. I know companies are trying to bring them back. All right. I was
Yeah.
one of the few, very, very few, if not the only one of the executives that I work with that allowed my team members to work from home at times.
Oh,
I was
wow.
one of the very few, and this was back again before laws started being changed, where I had women on my team, and I had women that were young mothers, and I would work with them to give them the flexibility they needed to take care of themselves and their families, while at the same time getting their jobs done. And my theory was, if they feel better about their home life, if they're not stressed out about that, they're going to do
Right.
more here. That's exactly what happened.
Hmm.
They actually outperformed almost every time I had a mother on my team who had young kids at home, and I made adjustments for her to be able to work from home or
Yeah.
whatever she had to do. Um, I'm telling you, almost every time they were the best performers on my team, bar
Wow.
none. They always not only got their projects done on time, but they always had them at a higher quality level than anyone else. They were more innovative than anyone else, and they always provided me with more feedback and specific intent on how we can get better than anybody else. It always came to fruition. Why?
Yeah.
Because they were able to have a stable home environment, which allowed them to bring them best selves to the job. Whether they
Right.
were there physically or not didn't matter. All that mattered was they could bring their best thinking and their best selves to the job. So to me, it's better if your personal life is focused on first. And that's why my model, it all starts with get in touch with yourself.
Right.
You feel better, everything else is going to be better around you. If you feel bad, you think people around you are going to feel good? No. If you feel
Right.
great, people around you feel pretty good. And
Yeah.
when I would travel the world, whether I couldn't speak Mandarin, I did learn
Hmm.
to speak some Portuguese, some Spanish. But French, I did a little bit, not very much. That was hard language. Greek, no way. But in every one of those places, people around me, they were uplifted, even though I didn't speak the language.
Right.
People can feel positive energy. Where did I get that positive energy from? my home life.
Yes.
That's where that came from. I knew I had a great home life, and it
Hmm.
fueled me to want to share that happiness with everybody else, make
Yeah.
their lives better, and get the job done.
I love that. I love that so much. Now, when setbacks hit, what is your reset protocol so we can bounce back without losing progress?
There is no such thing as losing, there's no such thing as failure. Those are all opportunities to learn. And so
Hmm.
to me, it's getting everybody, people around me to understand failure and losses are, they happen and they're good because we learn from them and we get better. If
Yes.
we never fail and we never lose, it's probably because we never took a chance and we
Yes.
never, ventured out to compete against bigger, stronger people. If I
Right.
would have just, I grew up in Key West, Florida. I would just stayed in Key West where I was the biggest, the strongest, the fastest. Uh, what point am I proving? Am I going
Right.
to get any better? No. It's when I had to go play in the Big Ten.
Hmm.
I don't know if you know anything about that. You may not know about football, so I'm assuming you do. But when I left to go play college, I played in one of the biggest conferences with the biggest people. I mean, literally, I'd play in games where, I mean, I'm 6'5", I played at 240 pounds. I'd be
Yeah.
outweighed by the guy I'm playing against by 100 pounds. I mean, some guys I played with 350 pounds.
Yeah.
Did I get better though? Did I have to get in cut? Did I have to learn? Did I get loose? Did I get knocked down? Absolutely. Did I
Yeah.
get hit hard? Yes. Did I
Right.
lose sometimes? Yes. But was I a better person coming out of that? Was I tougher coming out of that? Yeah. Did I
Yeah.
learn, okay, I got to do this differently. I got to find a way to go. Yeah. So losses, defeats, failures, those are opportunities to learn. And the faster that we can understand how to adjust and how to
Yes.
continuously develop ourselves, that there is no such thing as stop learning. I talked
Right.
about earlier, every morning, I want to spend 30 minutes learning about AI and blockchain. You know,
Yeah.
I want to continue to learn. So that's kind of how I compete against it. I'm always looking at a loss as a defeat, as an opportunity to learn. Even the times I quit, and I've quit, I got to touch it myself and learned from those times I quit.
Yes.
Why did I do that? What led me to do that? How do I position myself better the next time? Learn more, develop yourself more, get in touch with yourself more, build your resiliency more. Because you know
Yes.
what? The world we live in is hard.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And if you
Yes.
think you're never going to lose, you're wrong. If you think you're never going to get knocked down, you're wrong. So
Right.
steel yourself to that by continuing to develop yourself every day. Get in
Right.
touch with yourself and be confident in yourself that, yeah, I'll get knocked down, but I'm getting right back up. And maybe
Exactly.
one day I'll be on Stacey Chillemi's show.
Now, for high achievers flirting with burnout, what are the
Yeah.
boundaries or rituals that you recommend to scale results without sacrificing themselves?
Make the decision that you're not going to let it happen. And that it sounds simple, but again, I think as a leader or as any person in a job that you're in, it still it comes down at first to choice.
Yeah.
And what kind of environment do you want to put yourself in? I was reading a couple of weeks ago about this software company where the CEO only wants people who are going to work 80 hours a week
Right.
and that he doesn't care that to him there is no such thing as work-life balance. There's work, and
Yeah.
and so you don't want to work there, he'll buy you out. But you're
Right.
not going to work there if you can't work less than 80 hours a week. So if that's you got to be honest with yourself. Is that what I really want? If you don't
Yeah.
want it, don't do it. Right. So
Yeah.
put yourself in positions that you're comfortable with and be able to make those choices and believe in yourself. Now, if you're in a job, even in jobs you like, even a company, there are going to be times where you're faced with this choice. And again, it gets down to create boundaries for yourself and trade-offs that you have to make. Sometimes you
Right.
just have to make those trade-offs. I set boundaries and I was again, very high achieving individual. I set
Yeah.
very high standards and I wanted to move up fast, but
Right.
I wasn't going to put my family at risk. So there
Yeah.
were certain locations that because we part of the company I work with, you could move around the places and they'll send you different places and all these things. And I said right up front, look, here's 10 places. Don't ask me because I'm not going.
Right.
It's that simple. I'm not going to go there because My family has to be in a better situation than what those places would offer for us. And so
Yes.
if that means that I'm not going to get promoted, I'll look somewhere else. You know,
Right.
um, that was a boundary choice that I made. Now on the flip
Hmm.
side, when I had the opportunity to work internationally, I knew it was going to be a lot of travel. I had to make a
Yeah.
choice. So I sat down with my wife. Can we make this work? How do we make it work? How do
Yeah.
we do that? So I said, okay, I'll do the travel, but I'm going to do it in a way that's going to be as easy for us as a family to deal with. But it still was
Right.
hard. It still
Yeah.
was hard. So you have to set the boundaries that you feel comfortable with,
Right.
and then figure out what trade-offs and sacrifices that you can make and find that equilibrium. And if the equilibrium can't be found, if the balance can't be found, do yourself a favor and start getting out.
Right.
Start looking elsewhere. And again, one of the things I would do for the people on my team, if they were going to be going to another job within the
Hmm.
company, or if the job that I had for them was going to change and I knew it was going to impact their family because it's going to be much harder or much more time required, you know,
Right.
I would be straight up and honest with them. Here's what it's
Yeah.
going to take. But really think through this and talk to your partner. Because if
Yeah.
this isn't going to work and you can't find the right balance, it's going to put a strain on your family that bring you to a breaking point. You don't want
Right.
that. So look, if this is going to work, I'll start working with you now to figure out something else.
Right.
Don't put yourself in a position that's going to hurt you on the personal side. It's going to hurt
Right.
your family. Think through that. So that's what I would say. Set boundaries, figure out what the trade-offs can be. And if you can't find the equilibrium, get out.
I love it. That's awesome. Now, what's the single idea from your Make Your Own Destiny Happen would you want every listener to practice this week?
I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. In fact, there's two. Get in touch with yourself. You are the leader of your life. No one else is going to lead it for you.
Yep.
No one has the chips in the game like you do.
Right.
I'm a parent. Not even your parents do.
Yeah.
You have to take charge of your life. Step up and be the leader. Accept that role. And
Yes.
how you accept that role, step number one, get in touch with yourself.
Right.
Like yourself. Accept yourself for the warts and all, good and bad.
Yeah.
And then think about, okay, what do I really want? And what
Yeah.
am I willing to do to make that happen?
Right.
Then if you read my book, it gives you a roadmap on how to actually make it happen as well. But if there's one thing to take away, it would be that.
I love it.
Step up and be the leader of your life.
You
Don't let
have.
anyone else tell you what to do. Be the leader of your life.
I love it. I love it. And I love that because I see so many people letting others lead their lives for them. And it puts a damper on them mentally, physically, spiritually. It's just, you have to be the leader of your own life. You have to make the choices. You have to be
That's
at the
right.
end. You have to be the one who has happiness in their heart. And you get that by being the leader of your own life for sure.
That's right. One thing I do want to mention, because I do realize there are some people who are in very difficult situations
Yes.
where they're controlled by someone else, where
Yes.
they're being held down, and
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have the ability to exercise their agency in their own personal leadership. That's
Right.
why it's so important for all the rest of us
Yes.
to step up, to make it that. That's why I wrote this book, because
Yeah.
I felt like I can deliver a message that maybe could help one person out there, one
Right.
person that could make their destiny happen, get in a better position. And if that person could do that, you never know. They could be the one to figure out a way to help that person that's being held down.
Yes.
If I can get that person, maybe they impact 10 other people and they get 10 other people and they get 10 other people. And went from that one person to 100 to 1,000. And maybe one of them could help that person who's being held down.
Right.
So let's not forget there's some people in our society who are being locked down, held down, not allowed to be who they want to be. That's why it's so important for all of us to exercise our agency so we can generate positive change, not just for ourselves, but for others. I
I
just wanted to
love it.
get that in. Sorry about that.
No, that's a great point. I think that's an excellent point to make because a lot of people out there, do have other people trying to hold them down, and they're in abusive relationships, and they're in tough areas where they can't,
Yes.
they're afraid to be their own person. And,
Yes.
so when it comes to that, you have to try to, figure out a way to get out of that situation and to become your own person. There's always a way. There's always
Mhm.
a way. For sure, for sure. Now, if you had to take today's conversation and you wanted to emphasize on some important factors, what would be a few factors you want to make sure people walk away with and remember?
Well, the Destiny Development Delta model is explained very well in my book, Make Your Destiny Happen.
Yes.
And what I would say is I've got a podcast out there I mentioned. It doesn't compete with Stacey's at all. Again, it's 5 or 6 minutes. There's only 5 episodes. It's called the Make Your Destiny Happen Petite Podcast. I take one little message, one little lesson out of the book and bring it to life with stories about my dad. And they're funny and touching. So take a listen to them. There's some really good nuggets there. Um, and I did want to say there's one other thing I want people to take away from that's very simple to do. Uh, Reverse the amount of time you're spending on your phone to
Hmm.
personal development time. That's
Yeah.
another quick win you're going to see if you could do
Hmm.
that. So please listen and do that one as well. But yeah, so the Destiny Development Delta model comes to life in the Make Your Destiny Happen book. Please read the book. And uh, the other thing I would say about this is I have a webinar that's going to be coming up in 2 weeks. I think it's on the 24th of September. And that webinar will be open to anyone who wants to attend. There'll be opportunity to even submit some questions, but I'll be discussing the book. I'll be going into detail. That'll be a great opportunity to learn more as well.
I love it. And where can people find your book?
It's available on Amazon.
Mhm.
Right now. But it's also available in other of the bookstores that you like, whether it's Barnes and Noble or Goodreads as well, both in the hardcover format and the ebook format. Audiobook is not quite ready yet. I actually start recording it next week with the intent to have the audiobook out by the end of the year. Be a good Christmas gift for someone. I know not everyone loves to read anymore. They like to listen, like to podcasts or to audiobooks. So that's where you can get it. You can also just go directly to my website. And I'll tell you other different ways to get access to the book as well as to check out the podcast and others. And the website is if you just type in the title of the book, makeyourdestinyhappen.com. It'll take you right there. Also, the name of the company, Destiny, except Dev for development, devdelta.com. So destinydevdelta.com. But if you just Google Donzel Leggett, this is one of the good things about having a unique name. There's not a lot of people with my name out there. So if you Google my name, you're going to find our website and you'll be able to find the book. In fact, if you go to Amazon and put my name in the search, the book will come up. So there's a lot of ways to find it. Just remember Donzel Leggett and you'll get it.
I love it. I love it. And is there any other services that you provide? You have the webinar coming up, you have the book. Is there anything else that you have that you want to mention to the listeners?
Absolutely. Hopefully, you felt the energy and positiveness coming from my voice. A public speaker as well. So, if you ever in need for a keynote speaker or someone to do a workshop for you or anything like that, if you want to bring energy, if you want to bring positivity, but you also want to bring the truth, I'm your guy. But also, I do coaching, personal coaching as well, leadership development as well. All of that described on the website. So, yeah, there you go.
I love it. Well, this has been amazing, Donzel. I really appreciate you. I appreciate everything you do and all the knowledge and all the things that you said today were just amazing. I think you really opened a lot of people's minds and really made people think, and the different strategies and solutions that you offered today on the show were outstanding. And if you could, like you said, if we can change one person's lives or even, that person changes someone else's lives, before you know it, you could change a million lives, and just by, touching one person and that person touching another person and so forth. So I really appreciate you. I appreciate everything you're doing. And I just thank you for being you. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Stacey, thank you. And once again, thank you for the platform. I'm sure the over 1 million listeners that you have agree with what I'm going to say here, and that is, I think you're one of the greatest interviewers that's out there right now. You're awesome at what you do. You make it feel like a conversation, and you get the best out of your guests. So thank you so much for allowing me on your platform and for creating this platform, which is, again, making so many people feel good. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. And you have a great day.
You too.